All right. One of the biggest questions I've gotten is what I actually ate after my gallbladder surgery while I was making my move back into carnivore. And honestly, I learned pretty quickly that my body was going to tell me what exactly I could handle and I couldn't. So the first week I took things kind of easy. I kind of followed after the hospital plan, but I didn't eat uh, anything that they brought on my plate that didn't qualify as carnivore, which means they're uh, vegetables and fruit cups and sugary items on the plate. Uh, but I wanted to be in a safe zone, so I stayed with my meats and bone broth and water. And I also had organic, no sugar added coconut water because I thought the electrolytes would help my healing process. This is what I learned while listening to my body, and here's what generally helped me transition and settle back toward the carnivore after my surgery. So let's get into talking some more on carnivore more. Now, one thing that was difficult for me is that in the hospital they had me eating every 2 hours, and I'm not a grazer. So naturally, being a 2 meal a day person was what I usually do because I fix my husband keto and my carnivore 2 meals a day because he doesn't want one meal, and I understand that. 1 meal a day would suffice for me, and my biggest meal is morning because I wake up and the first thing I do is I have my egg coffee, and then when he gets up later on in the morning, because I'm the early riser, I rise with the sunshine, then we have breakfast together, like between 9 and 9:30. And I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, so by 9:30, I'm hungry. So eggs became the biggest part of what I had in my healing process. And eggs is one of the best things you can eat after a surgery and to help the healing process. I had hard boiled eggs, poached eggs, fried eggs, scrambled eggs, however I felt like I wanted them. I had chicken broth, beef broth, bone broth. And that became a mainstay for several reasons. I felt supported by them because they were hot. I could make them hot. I could add salt to them. And sometimes I just pour them into a pan, put in my varied meats that I had that I was saving, leftovers, and some spices, and even some more salt, and then I would take and put it in my bowl and sprinkle it with whatever kind of cheese I wanted if I wanted cheese on it. And it made a good meal and a healthy meal. My daughter also at the time introduced me to Baby Bell cheese. I'd never had them before, and I found that they worked well as a quick little bite if I just wanted some little thing. And if we'd go out for the day, I'd put a couple in my purse. If I felt like I wanted a bite of something, it was handy. Burger patties has always been my mainstay. My husband and I eat hamburger patty and eggs every single morning. We both like it. It's very satisfying and it's very tasty. Sometimes I'll take and just put the burger into a pan and chop it all up and maybe add some onions to his or some spices to mine. And then after I've got the meat cooked up, I'll put my eggs in like when I used to take and make chicken, Chinese rice. I would take and put it in the middle, let the eggs start to get hard, flip them a few times, then mix them in with my hamburger, just like I used to do with the vegetables way back when. So we also love shrimp, and we like to have them at least once a month. And I buy the ones that are all ready to eat with the cocktail sauce because hubby likes the cocktail sauce. And so we would indulge in those. And sometimes I'd have some of those left over and also add them into a broth for a soup. Then, of course, as you know, I love my coffee and I can't live without my coffee. And most of you already know that I love the coffee so much that I don't really care for it black. I prefer it to have cream. So I started slowly. First, I had black coffee, and then gradually I added about a half a teaspoon for a few days of half and half. Then I'd add a teaspoon and a teaspoon and a half and 2 teaspoons until I got up to 3 teaspoons. And then I would go to my cream and I would take my cream and I would add in just a teaspoon because now I've built myself up to 3 teaspoons of half and half. And I would do that for a few days and then increase it by a half a teaspoon more each time because I didn't want to push this body too much because, as you know, I listen to this body. So that became one of my biggest lessons for me after the gallbladder removal was trying to get that fat content weighed out, not overdoing it. So I had to learn how to easy do it, Paula. The things didn't always go smoothly, but it didn't discourage me because if I had a problem, I just fall back. Like when I got to the tablespoon of half and half, I eventually built to a tablespoon of cream. But the tablespoon of cream became too much, so I would have only a half a tablespoon of cream and then a half a tablespoon of the half and half. I realized my body was adjusting to a real major change. No gallbladder and no, without the gallbladder, the bile is no longer stored and released the same way, is constantly dripping into your digestive system. So whenever I pushed too much or started mixing too many things together, my body responded really honestly with me. It would just flare up. What really started helping me was keeping my meals simple, not stacking too much at one meal, keeping the things protein scented. If I had a meal, the most of it was protein, which is what it always is, anyways, on my carnivore. And during the second week, I started pulling away from that grazing that the hospital has started and going into my regular routine. Didn't take me long to get to the 2 meals a day. And even now, sometimes I only still do 1 meal a day, especially if I have a busy day. I naturally functioned well. And when I did that, my digestion also became calmer. And I like to mention, like I mentioned in another video, my gut became a lot quieter. Honestly, I felt like that was a miracle in itself because for me, I don't ever remember having a gut that was not noisy or that was not all the time constantly stirring, aggravating, and causing discomfort for me. The more I leaned into the carnivore, the more my body actually craved carnivore and the flavors tasted greater and satisfied longer. One thing I quickly realized after surgery was just how vulnerable the body can feel afterward. That's why I approached it carefully as I came back onto carnivore. I've always listened to my body, and I wasn't about to stop doing that after such a major change. Now, here I am, about 6 weeks out from my surgery, and I'm becoming much more stable. I still have moments when I push the fat too hard or push the stacking too hard, and I'm reminded, easy does it, Paula. Just recently, my daughter and I was out shopping one day all afternoon. It was out about 8 hours, and we went for 3 coffees, uh, lattes she had, and I had tall Americano with just a splash of milk, 2%. And then we came home, and I never eat after 6, but that night we ate after 9, and I knew it was going to bother me, and it did not. My body did not handle it well. At 3:30 in the morning, I woke up with the runs. So now at this point, I've also added things like hot dogs and tuna salad. One way I love to make my tuna salad is I make it with yogurt instead of mayonnaise. I put just a touch of mustard in there with it, which gives it that kind of tang like you get with relish when you put relish in your salad. And then I put it on an egg wrap, and I've been enjoying that really well. I've also enjoying my morning coffee again with my egg. In fact, I think I finally found my favorite blend the other day, which is how I've been having it for the last week and a half. I take one whole egg and 2 egg yolks and a tablespoon of butter unsalted and a teaspoon of non-flavored gelatin, and I put them in my little carafe that I'm going to blend them in. I heat my coffee, or if I'm making a new pot, I take my coffee once it's hot. I gradually pour it in while using my little frother and get that started in the bottom and get it all starting to froth up. Then I pour my coffee slowly in and raise the frother up as my coffee comes up. to the top and put it in my coffee cup, and I have that beautiful latte looking foam on the top and my coffee beneath. And I want you to know it's a good experience. And so, for those of you who'd like to try that, just wanted to share that with you. My sharing today is that I came on to share my experience for anybody who may relate or who's walking through, going through, or having a gallbladder removal already, and that is curious about how you can transition back into carnivore, or if you're not on carnivore yet, how you can transition from where you are onto carnivore. I'm simply sharing my journey. Each person's path is their own. And as many of you know, what eventually brought me to surgery was that the fact that after 2.5 years of doing extremely well on carnivore, I slowly started adding old trends, holidays, birthdays, and special occasions back with their foods. And my family doesn't eat like I do. So I was making foods that they were used to and that they wanted me to make that they hadn't had in a long time. And I have to say, I'd have a little taste and sometimes a little more than a little taste. Compromise is a dangerous game to play. And eventually, the inflammation and the flare ups became so severe that I had no choice. Once I had entered that uh, emergency room twice, but to have my gallbladder out because it was badly inflamed and infected. So now I'm learning again, listening again, and moving forward with much more awareness because I want to do carnivore more and stay there forever because I enjoy carnivore. If you've enjoyed this message, let me know. If you have a question, leave a comment below. If you have a comment, leave it because I also need your encouragement. Have a wonderful day. And if you know anybody that this video might be able to help, then share it with a friend. Let them know. If you know somebody who's getting ready to have a gallbladder operation or who's had a gallbladder operation, who wants to know how they can go into carnivore, tell them to visit me. I am not a qualified person to tell you how to do it. I'm just a person sharing my experience, and I want to share with honesty exactly how I did it, how I felt, and what it did for me. Have a wonderful week. I'm glad you were here. Bye bye. Carnivore more. Bye bye.